Hi folks, lesson number 8, Hebrew for all. Everyone, you've got a system by which you're going to learn to read, write, and speak Hebrew. Fail-safe. My name's Shlomo Eitan, and we're going to go on our merry way. Really, what we do is we start with a teeny bit of a review. And the review is based on this page that you saw in the last class, 0.221. In fact, at the end of that class, I left you with a question. And the question was, I didn't leave you with a question. I left you basically with an assignment. And the assignment would be to do numbers 7, 8, and 9 on this sheet because they deal specifically with a concept called the digital dagesh. You have to really go back and take a look at that if you're unsure what I'm referring to, so that you'll be with us as we move ahead in this class. But let's start with number 7 together for a moment. And the word there on the left-hand side of the page next to the 7 is leave note. And I always say that you have to appreciate in the Hebrew language, at least the way I'm teaching it, that everything we learn is a pattern. And we're meant to maintain that pattern until I somehow give you the directive that there's something to be changed. So it sounds a little bit rigid, but you'll see exactly what I mean right now. This word next to number 7 is pronounced leave note. And if you notice, I'm saying that as a vet. Now, that's a paradigm. That means that's an example for us, which is to say that in a pattern like this, there will never be a dot or a dagesh in that letter. So you can rely on that. And an example for that would be if you would go up to number 4. You should be able to apply that concept that I've just learned with you and pronounce 4 correctly as lich tov. Because in this very distinct lishmor, or its sub-pattern, leak note pattern, that letter after the lamed will never have a dagesh in it in its infinitive form. But now, if we wanted to go in number 7, for example, to the first of the 4 forms of the present tense, based on how we learned it in the prior class, the word would come out like this. How would we pronounce that, folks? We would pronounce it bo ne. Now, this is not called the phenomena of the digital dagesh. This is simply a bet, kaf, or a pei that has become the first letter of the word, and therefore it's pronounced with a dot in it. That would be true in almost all of the Hebrew language, except for certain instances in the Torah or in a Jewish prayer book, a Siddur, where we could find certain exceptions to that rule. The same thing again would be applicable here in lich tov. It would become, as we make the transition from the infinitive to the present tense, ko-tev. Ko-tev. Okay, I want to see if I can erase. Whoops, my eraser didn't work so well. Try again. I don't like the way the eraser's working. There we go. Nope. Okay, we'll leave it. We won't waste any further time, and we'll write down kotev. Okay, and now, number 8. How are we going to read that word? Leave coat. This is the case, or the instance, of the digital dagesh. Here we have in our infinitive, leave coat. That kaf there has a dagesh in it. But when we'll go to the present tense, it's going to become, go ahead and say it first, but beat me to the point, folks. Bo che. And that would be a good word to learn. Why? Because it's proverbially proverbially killing two birds with one stone. The bet is now be, because it's become the first letter of the word, and the kaf, which was a K sound in the infinitive, has now become a more raspy sound in the present tense. And here also, in number 9, we see an example as well of a digital, very distinct terminology. I'm the only one who's using this terminology, so use it with caution. The infinitive would be lispor, and the present tense would go to sofer. Whoops, another little bit of a mistake that I'm correcting quickly. Sofer. Okay. And now we're going to learn something new. We want to review that, obviously, as we go on to learn something new. Okay. Hopefully, you're now seeing sheet 0.24. To be able to do this sheet effectively, you're going to be having to learn 2 new words. These words are the word for need and the word for able or can. So I'm going to write it right over here. The word for need is tzarich. Second one, feminine singular, tzricha. Masculine plural, tzrichim. And finally, tzrichot. Left out some vowels, that's just fine. I'm sure you understand what I'm doing. Tzarich, tzricha, tzrichim, tzrichot. What I want to point out over here, folks, is notice how, try and take a different color in hand, notice how here we started with the T-bar, and then we got to the 2 standing dots as we moved through this word. That is to say, right to left across the page, tzarich, tzricha, tzrichim, tzrichot. And that transition in vowel is associated with the idea of trying to have movement in the word moving towards the end. That's a kind of a default rule of the Hebrew language. We want to, if we can, and there'll be a lot of time spent on reminding you of these rules as they come up, we want to have the accent on the last syllable, or as I say in class, have the accent on the last syllable. But it can't always work out. But here, in this case, even though in tzarich, the accent wasn't on the first syllable, it was really here, tzarich, still, by our changing that T-bar under that first tzadi into the 2 standing dots in the feminine singular word, we are creating motion towards the end of the word. Hence, tzarich, tzricha, tzrichim, tzrichot, and that word I said meant needs, meant need. And the second word that we have to get in here is the word יכול. יכול. And the feminine singular is yehola. Third, yecholim. And the fourth, yecholot. Now, this word means, and I give it 2 different definitions, can or able. The mnemonic device, as it were, is Cain and Abel. Famous Bible story. And what's the basic concept? The basic concept is these 2 words do not follow either of the patterns that we've learned to date. And 2, they're extremely important in conversational and every other aspect of Hebrew. Why? Because, I'll give you a quick example. If I want to use the word need, I need water. Ani tzarich mayim. Fascinating word, mayim. water always appears in a plural form, mayim. Okay? I need water. But if I want to say I need to learn, I need to guard, then the word after tzarich, the verb after tzarich must be an infinitive. And hence you learn why it was so important for us to expose ourselves to that concept. Ani tzarich lilmod. If I were a woman speaking, ani tzricha lilmod. And now the second word, יכול. Let's say, I am able to guard. In English, when I use the word able, ani יכול to guard, lishmor, I am able to guard. In English, we'll say, I am able to guard. But if we were to say, I can guard, we might make the mistake of not realizing that we should be creating that word guard in the infinitive. Because, once again, the second of two verbs in the Hebrew language is always in the infinitive form. On the next sheet, the next class, this is class number 8. In the next class, we'll do a little bit more review of this concept, hoping to try and make you feel a teeny bit more comfortable with it. That's all for now, folks. It was a pleasure learning with you. Bye-bye.